Come join me in the kitchen today as we cook us up a mess of something. We are going to be organizing my condiment racks. We're going to be making some lentil sausage and doing some breakfast meal prepping for my beautiful young daughter Olivia, who just got a job as a kennel tech, and we are going to be making grit cakes. Please stick around at the end for my Bible study message. I hope everybody made it okay through this recent freeze. I'm just walking around looking at my tree and looking at the little icicles hanging off the branches and checking everything out. Our dog's water bowl was frozen solid, but the sun's shining. Life's good. In my last video, I organized my dry beans, so I decided to throw some Mayakoba beans in the slow cooker, and I showed the first half of the beans on my last video, but I was so delirious and tired that I forgot to show the results. They were wonderful, and now I'm going to attach the part I left off of my last video. Corey and I have it narrowed down to 3 reasons these were delicious. Number 1, we used our smoked turkey broth, which has excellent flavor. Number 2, we used this sausage that has green onions in it and was absolutely delicious. We went back and got more. And number 3, we used the Mayakoba beans, which are our absolute favorite. We polished these off in 2 days. We also meal prepped these egg bites in my last video too, but like I said, I was delirious when I was editing. I wasn't making any sense. I was speeding things up that shouldn't have been speeded up. I was just a mess, and I was leaving things out that I didn't mean to leave out. So I thought I would just do this a little bit more slowly, take my time. These right here were egg bites that we used our leftover chorizo and potato in. And again, this can be found in the video before this. We used canned potatoes, which was a first for us. I mean, we've had canned potatoes in our stews and soups, but this was our first time frying canned potatoes. We were worried they'd be too watery and wouldn't hold up, but they held up great. So this was the leftover chorizo and potato that we had, and we just went ahead and mixed it into some eggs and some heavy whipping cream, added a bunch of peppers and seasonings, and then we threw it into our egg bite maker, which has become my new favorite tool. I used to get these egg bites from Starbucks, and they're very good but very pricey. They just have such a nice pillowy taste. I wouldn't quite compare them to a quiche, but kind of similar. They're just like these fluffy pockets of air. I don't know how to describe it, but now you can find them in most grocery stores. And they're still pricey though, so I was able to get the machine that I used for like 20 or 25 bucks on Amazon, so I just love the thing. It takes about 7 minutes to make these eggs. You just put the lid on, and there's that green light right there, and it just goes off where you can't see it. So you need to be paying attention. I've made the mistake of walking away and forgetting about it. It doesn't have anything that dings unless you know that they're done. And these are also great in the air fryer if you like a crispier topping. These are my new favorite breakfast. Hey everybody, I hope that you're doing well. I hope you're staying warm and safe. The schools around here have been canceled for today. The roads are pretty clear. I've seen a few people go by, but my husband was fortunate enough to be able to stay home from work because there are some overpasses that are pretty sketchy. In part 6 of my organization series, we focused on my spices. Now we are going to focus on my packages of spice mixes. So I've got a bunch in here. They were in order at one point, but I've come and shoved more stuff in over the past year, so they're back to being out of order. We're also going to be focusing on my condiment rolling carts here and getting these into an order that makes sense to us. So if we are looking for something specific, there can be some rhyme or reason to it. That's not the case now. Just anything that I don't quite know where to put it on my pantry shelves has ended up in these carts. We have salad dressings, gravies, barbecue sauces, ketchups, vinegars. What I'm hoping to do is get these in order, and if I've got room, if I can find places to put these on my shelves, like I've already taken a few things off. If you noticed in my last video, we took our pecani sauces and put that with the tomato products. We've taken the jars of jalapeno peppers and put them over by the nacho cheese. We're just going to keep trying to dwindle through this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get it in order first, and then I'm going to do my Bible study voiceover, and then after that's over, I'll come back and talk to you about some of these products in case you're interested in any of these things and putting them in your pantry. My younger daughter, Olivia, got a job and she starts tomorrow. She has graduated high school and she wanted to become a cosmetologist. And of course, I support that. I said, if that's what you want to do, I support that. But why don't you give it some time before you rush off to college and invest a lot of money? I know you enjoy doing makeup and hair on yourself, but you've got to think about, do you really want to do it on other people all day? And, you know, will you be able to handle negative feedback if someone's not happy? And, you know, just telling her maybe don't rush. If you want to do it, great, but why don't you give it a year or two, see if that's still what you want to do. So she's been working in the restaurant industry and she enjoyed that. You know, it's kind of got some crazy hours. She was just kind of getting overwhelmed, but her true passion is working with animals. She might have got that from me. Part of my concierge service is that I pet sit other people's animals when they travel. So she's accompanied me on many trips since she was a little girl and really enjoys it. Whenever we find an injured bird or squirrel, take it to the wildlife sanctuary in Houston. There is a homeless animal shelter that is attached, and she always goes over there and could just spend hours there hanging out with those animals. You can just see it in her eyes. She just has such a spark. That seems to be what her passion is for now. Of course, we're always evolving and changing. Now, I'm going to insert some pictures of just what a natural she is with animals. When we've been at the shelter, she could go into a room and get a bunch of hyper kittens to pose for a picture. The volunteers said they never saw anything like it before. And I said, she's got that effect on animals. She is like Snow White. Deer will walk right up to her and eat out of her hands. Squirrels come up to her and eat directly out of her hand. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. So where I'm going with this story is she got a job as an animal tech at a pet resort near us, and she starts tomorrow. And so she gets to walk them and give them medicine and bathe them if they get dirty. Her shift starts at 6:30 in the morning, which means we're going to have to get up probably around 5:30 or so. It's only a few minutes from our house, but still, you know, she wants to get up, have breakfast, not feel very rushed. Today's video, I'm going to be focusing on breakfast meal prepping for a vegetarian because Olivia has a medical condition. Her liver does not digest protein properly. She's had this since she was born. She just got a defective gene in her liver. That's why she's a vegetarian. And then my other daughter, Chloe, is also a vegetarian by choice. So since Olivia has to start work tomorrow at 6:30, I said, okay, we definitely need to do some meal prepping. What would you like for breakfast? So she wants grit cakes. We make these grit cakes that are fully loaded like a baked potato. You put chives, cheese, sour cream, butter, and bacon. Of course, with her, we use the Bacon Bits, which is textured soy protein, but you can put real bacon in there if you want. And then you just let it solidify in the fridge. And then you roll it in some panko and some egg, and you deep fry it, and they're like little patties. We usually put like a green tomato gravy on it. We're going to be meal prepping some grit cakes. And then she also likes her vegetarian soy sausage with biscuit. This is what we use. Turns out to be about $1 a patty. and they're really not much bigger than a $1/2. So I was like, I don't want to keep just going to the store and spending money on these. So I am going to find a way to make those, and I looked up a copycat recipe. We were organizing our dry beans, probably about 20 bags of lentils, and Corey and I were like, what are we going to do with those? You can use lentils to bulk up ground beef, to stretch your dollar. If you don't want to spend a ton of money on meat, you can throw in some lentils and it kind of gives you the same texture. And the recipe I looked up for the vegan sausage calls for lentils. We're going to go ahead and use for whatever reason, we have 2 open bags of biscuits, so we're going to go ahead and go through these. Now, I ran out of my big container of grits, but because I'm not spending any money until the end of February, I just rummaged through the pantry. I found these easy cheddar grits with jalapeno and Hatch green chili. This should be enough to do a bigger batch, but just in case it's not, I've got some cheddar grits, and look at the best by date, November of 2022, and they are still good. So I am living testimony that you don't have to pay attention to the best by dates in all situations. We're going to take a couple of packets of the instant, mix it with a Hatch green chili, grits, and make a big old pot of that, and then turn that into patties. And that is going to be Olivia's meal prep this week. Stick around and we'll get started on this. The first thing I'm going to want to do is bake up these frozen biscuits that are in these open packages and get them ready for the lentil sausage biscuits. I just baked these according to the package directions. In the freezer, I found another bag of soy sausage patties. Before I make the lentil patties, I want to be sure to use up all the frozen soy sausage patties. So I'm going to go ahead and grill those, get them prepped and ready to put on the biscuits. It feels good to be using what I've got and start making a dent in the freezer. So these are coming along real nicely. I'm just going to go ahead and assemble these, and then I'm going to try to figure out what I want to do with them, how many I want to store in the fridge, how many I want to put away in the freezer. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and put them in a little storage container and stick them in the refrigerator, and then I'll know what I want to do with the rest here in a little bit. Now that I've used up all my frozen biscuits, I'm ready to move to this Dolly Parton buttermilk biscuit that I've been looking to try. I'm just going to follow the package directions. One of these days, once I've moved through all of my packaged pie crust and biscuits and cornbread and pizza crust and all the things that I have in packages, I plan on making everything from scratch once I'm finished using that up. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and use what I've got on hand. Speaking of what I have on hand, I couldn't get this dough off my hands to save my life, but it finally came together. We are about to work on the vegan sausage patties. I am going to use a half a bag of these lentils, a cup of rolled oats, 3 cups of broth, so I decided to use a tablespoon of each, sauteed onion, sofrito, just has roasted tomato, onion, garlic, and cilantro, adobo, which is chili peppers, garlic, and cumin. We're supposed to use a cup of flaxseed. I'm going to use chia seeds in its place. It calls for 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. I'm going to use my smoked maple syrup. 2 tablespoons of soy sauce and whatever seasonings you want. I'm going to gather some thyme, some cumin, garlic, onion, what all I can find. First, we're going to bring 3 cups of water to a boil. While we're waiting for the water to boil, let's go ahead and go in with the 3 tablespoons of broth. Now we want to measure out a cup of the lentils, which is about half the bag. It's a 16-ounce bag. And then we're going to rinse them off real good. And then we're going to put them into the boiling broth. And we're going to let it go for about 15 to 20 minutes. When most of the moisture has been absorbed, then it'll be ready. When the lentils are done, you're going to want them to have a little bit of liquid left because there needs to be some to soak up the oats and the chia or flax seeds, as well as all the spices. You don't want it to be too dry or crumbly. So I just started adding all of my seasonings and getting ready to form these into nice little patties. Did a little bit of freeze-dried spinach for some extra nutrition. Then I just went ahead and laid out some parchment paper. I wish I used a bigger mixing bowl. It was a little bit harder for me to incorporate all the ingredients. That's why when I started laying them out into patties, you see all these loose lentils floating around. I just really wasn't able to get in there and get it all mixed up well, but it worked out. I will be sure to leave a link in the description box below to the Bohemian Vegan Kitchen. That's where I got this recipe idea. I set the oven for 400 degrees, and when I get these patties shaped the best I can, they're going to go in for about 15 minutes. I have had multiple meat alternative patties in my day, and I've got to say this is one of the better ones. These lentil patties, they held together quite nicely. Probably going forward will use a bigger mixing bowl. It was kind of hard to get in there and incorporate all the ingredients. I was flipping lentils everywhere. For the most part, these have actually turned out quite nicely, and I've been picking on the little loose lentils that came off, and they taste very similar to if you ever roast pumpkin seeds. That's kind of what they taste like. Have a nice little crunch to them. So I am trying to decide if I want to vacuum seal these and then freeze them, or just put them in a container in the freezer. So I'm trying to figure it out. I might leave a couple out in case the girls want to have one tonight. So all in all, I think this was a success. And if you think about it, I was spending $6, about $1 a patty from the Gardein brand, because you only get 6 to a bag. And these, a little thing of lentils. I think I got the lentils at the Dollar Tree. So for a 1-pound bag, $1.25. I used half of that, so I think I did okay here. Now I'm ready to meal prep my homemade lentil sausage patties with my Dolly Parton buttermilk biscuits. If the girls want white gravy with their sausage biscuits, I can whip it up real quickly in a matter of minutes with this Tony Chachere's. We decided to vacuum seal these in packs of 2 and get them prepped to put in the freezer. We are going to assemble the grit cakes next, so stick around. So we are boiling our 4 cups of water, getting ready to make the loaded grits. We've got our extra packets of cheese grits that we're going to use with our jalapeno and hatch chili and cheddar grits. We've got some freeze-dried green onions, some double smoked cheddar cheese, some butter, some of the fake bacon. We're going to use the rest of this one, and then we had one of these in the pantry we're going to open. We're actually not going to use sour cream in this recipe because we are making the cakes. We want them to firm up. When I make her loaded grits, I use the sour cream. We're going to omit that from this one. We love green onion in this house. We are going to use the rest of this fresh green onion, and then if we still need more, we'll use the freeze-dried. We also have some in a jar in the pantry.
I think that's enough, probably.
We are going to boil the grits on the stovetop according to the package directions, which is about 5 to 7 minutes. And then we're going to go in and add all of the toppings and mix that up real well. Grate the cheese, get that all nice and melted, add our seasonings, And then once it has cooled off, we are going to transfer it to a little casserole dish and place it into the refrigerator for a few hours at least, preferably overnight, so it can stiffen and get ready to cut into little squares. And once it's had a chance to solidify, we're going to go ahead and make the dredge. We are cracking a few eggs. We've got some flour on a plate and some panko, or I think we used shake and bake. And you would just do this as if you were going to make fried chicken. Now it's time to cut the grit loaf into individual grit cakes. We are going to begin the dredging process. We're going to start out rolling these in flour, and then we're going to put it into the egg mixture, followed by the Parmesan crusted shake and bake. And then we're going to fry them for about 4 minutes total. You just want to check each side, make sure your oil is hot enough to crisp it up, and just it shouldn't take more than 4 minutes though. These grit cakes are amazing. I usually eat mine with a green tomato gravy sauce, but if you are putting these away for meal prep, you might want to use an air fryer to heat them up. While I organize these condiments, I'm going to go ahead and do a voiceover with my most recent Bible study. This is what I refer to as my prepping for eternity. So, in my most recent Bible study, we covered Hebrews chapter 12, verses 12 to 14, just a couple of verses. The writer is continuing to offer encouragement to the Jewish Christians whose faith were starting to waver and who were considering going back to practicing the Mosaic law with all of the added man-made traditions instead of following Jesus because of their fear or persecution. So the writer continues to his audience by quoting Isaiah 35, verse 3 to 4. Therefore, strengthen your feeble arms and weak knees. Make level paths for your feet so that the lame may not be disabled but rather healed. And this is a word picture for us to remain strong in our spiritual faith. Paul also told to press on in Philippians 3:14. He said, I press on toward the goal, win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. We're also being told to remove all obstacles and stumbling blocks. Jesus invites us to lean on him, and he will lighten our burdens. If you go look at Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 to 30. And then Paul reminds us in Romans chapter 13, verse 14, to clothe ourselves in the righteousness of Jesus and take our minds off of sin. We are to lean on Jesus and not rely on our own understanding. You can check that out in Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 to 6. We're also warned to make every effort to live in peace with everyone and to be holy, because without holiness, no one will see the Lord. And that can be found in Hebrews 12, verse 14. So, in short, we are to stay away from drama. It takes two people to be involved in drama. If you ignore it, you won't be entangled in it. We are to not let resentment fester and grow bitter towards others. Romans chapter 12, verse 18 to 19 reminds us to not take revenge, because that's the Lord's job. This section of my Bible study closed with us being told not to be like Esau, who sold away his inheritance as the oldest son in exchange for a single meal. This is a picture for us to not throw away our eternal inheritance, which is permanent, for a temporary fix in this life with worldly temptations. Be strong in the Lord and the strength of his might. That's in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10. Now, I know I'm a little bit socially awkward. Actually, I'm very socially awkward. But I have just been felt led to start sharing my Bible study messages with others. I know as time progresses and times are getting harder and more challenging for us, and we're all looking for some encouragement somewhere, and just Every time we turn on the news, it's so negative. So I know I'm not very polished in my public speaking, but I do hope over time to be able to share a message without my voice shaking and, being nervous. I know that Paul and all the disciples, they weren't polished public speakers either. But they relied not on themselves, but on God to equip them and supply them with what they need to get his message across. And that's what I pray every night, that God just uses me as a vessel in some way to deliver his message to others who need to hear it, who it needs to reach. So I hope that you found this message helpful, and I look forward to sharing it with you on future videos. I think we're finally making some progress here. So let me go over what my thought process was and how I've organized these carts. This first shelf right here, these are our salad dressings. So we've got ranch. We have quite a few of these roasted sesame dressings. This could also be considered a marinade, but we use it for salad dressing, so that's what we're going to go with. And then we have some onion dressing, some P.F. Chang's sesame dressing, and then we've got some other salad dressings like taco. I don't know what that is. Corey must have picked that out. It looks like a oil-based wafu. Am I saying that right? Thousand Island balsamic vinaigrette. And then we've got our little ranch packets here. So salad dressings on that row. Down on this row, we have everything that has to do with tomato based or pepper based. So we've got a bunch of chipotle sauce. We've got a bunch of enchilada sauce. We've got red and green. And then we've got random things like manwich sauce. I mean, technically this is a tomatoey sauce, so this could go over by my tomatoes, but for now I'm going to leave it here. We've got enchilada sauce in a packet. Got about 3 jars of this mole. I'm sorry if I'm going real fast. I can't really tell if y'all can see this or if it's blurry. The tomatilla salsa. So you get the idea there too. These are barbecue sauces, and so they're your basic barbecue sauces like your Sweet Baby Ray's, but we have some interesting ones that I'm anxious to try. Here is an Applewood smoked honey maple. Here is a Salt Lick honey pecan. And we've got our favorite, Arby's, or not our favorite, my favorite, a peach barbecue sauce that we got from Fredericksburg in the Hill Country at Rustlin Rob's. Smokehouse charred ends barbecue sauce. We have more peppers. I don't know if you saw the video before this. We were starting to put our peppers on a shelf with the salsas and with the nacho cheese. So we have a bunch of pimentos and pepperoncinis, sliced jalapenos. When we go down here, this is kind of a little bit of everything. Not really barbecue sauces, kind of along the line of marinades, but not really. So we've got like liquid smoke, creamy bacon tomato topper. This is a glaze that you put on your ham. I got it for $1.50. It was marked down from like 12 bucks around the holiday, so that's like a bourbon vanilla ham glaze. Butter chicken simmer sauce, stone ground mustard, horseradish. We've got tahini back there. We've got wing sauce, buffalo wing sauce, and just kind of a little bit of everything that I'm not really sure what category it falls in. We've got some uncured bacon jam, plum sauce. This is really good with Asian dishes. Down here we have our liquid aminos, coconut aminos. If you're trying to watch your salt intake, that is a great substitute for soy sauce. And then we also have like our hoisin sauce, red wine vinegar, Parmesan garlic wing sauce, cooking sherry. Here is some more bacon jam. I'm going to put that up here. And then let's move over. Okay, this is my random pickle juice vinegar. So I don't know where to put that just yet. Down here we're going to have a bunch of mayonnaises. So, or different sandwich spreads. So one of my favorites is Duke's bacon and tomato. Corey's favorite is the habanero garlic. And let's see, and then these are our Japanese mayonnaises. Up here, this is just kind of an overflow of different gravies. If you saw my last video, I was putting the brown gravies behind this where all our soups are. Down at the bottom is where we have our cream of whatever soups that go with our casseroles and things like that. So I put the gravies down there. We've got some turkey gravy, mushroom gravy, chipped beef gravy, golden pork gravy. So I'm probably going to put those down there with those soups behind it. And then up here, we got more chipped beef gravy, country sausage gravy, another country sausage gravy, more country sausage gravies up here. And then in this basket, and then up there, these are our packets of gravy mixes and different seasonings or simmer sauces like rotisserie mix, skillet sesame chicken, pad thai. So that leads me to a segue for my next video. I'm going to work on organizing all of my packets of seasoning. So that shelf, this shelf, and then all of these. So that will be my next big project. I'm going to go ahead and stop here. I hope that you enjoyed this video, that you got something out of it. I hope you enjoyed the vegan breakfast meal prepping that I did for the week for Olivia since she's starting her new job. I hope you also enjoyed me organizing our condiments. So I hope you're doing well, and I will see you next time. Take care. Congratulations, Olivia, on your new journey.